I have two incredible stories for you this morning, and I'm gonna tell you straight up, the second story is not as big as the first, but it's really big. So we'll just talk about these two stories. Now, the first one is something that I have been talking about basically almost the entire time that I've been doing the show, but it's happening a lot sooner than I expected it to. This is a very, very big deal. It has multiple methods of proof apparently this morning that this direction for Tesla is clear and shocking. Okay, so let's jump into it. So yesterday they had the X takeover up in Northern California, and Lars Moravy, the vice president of vehicle engineering, spoke at the event, as did Elon Musk. And there was a couple of things that happened during that meeting that will make a huge change in the future as we know it. And Phil Truby, who goes under the handle of P. Truby on X, is the one who is reporting the details. So this is from the talk that Lars Moravy gave, and we'll just go through this. The upcoming unbox process for Cybercab increases the line speed and the manufacturing density. Instead of moving these big empty frames all over the factory on a long 150 to 200 foot station, final assembly line unboxed has a 20, I'm sorry, this is not 150 to 200 foot station. It's 150 to 200 different points on the station line, the assembly line. Unboxed has just 25 final assembly stations that it has to go through. He says Cybercab is engineered to be a long-lasting and hyper-efficient product on a cost per mile basis. So as opposed to maybe the 150 to 250,000 miles that you might expect out of your current product, if you have a Model Y, Model 3, this is going to be something that might be, I'm going to guess, 200 to 300,000 miles as a normal, and maybe even longer. It has cheap, easily replaceable body panels. He says, I expect Tesla will self-insure owned cybercabs and will repair them after accidents. This will be yet another vertical integration cost reduction strategy. Now, this is not the big news, but this is news. I've been saying they would self-insure. I've been saying they don't have a choice but to self-insure. This is obvious to me, but this is a confirmation. And now, Lars is in the engineering department, not in the insurance department, but that is just obvious to me. Also, the fact that they will have cheap, reusable body panels. This is another piece I've been talking about. And again, this is not the story. The story's still coming. But the story is that when something happens to a cybercab, when anything happens to a cybercab, whether that's a Model Y, Model 3, whatever, they can just take it over their own service center, and no other company has that capability. It says, when designing Cybercab's body with the plastic panels, they were able to have a single 2-hour meeting with in-house materials team, Franz's design team, engineers who make the assembly line machines. It took 2 hours to make the final design decisions. It would have taken months at any other company, he said. Optimus has micron-level precision parts. They are designing the manufacturing line to make thousands per week. Okay, Optimus has micron-level precision parts. So some of these actuators and whatnot are very, very, very technically precise. They are designed from the ground up for Tesla, and they are designing the manufacturing right now to make thousands per week. So thousands per week, let's say that's the minimum I would think is 3,000. Otherwise, he would have said a couple of thousand per week. 3,000 a week would be 150,000, obviously, per year. So that might be an initial goal. Lars is most looking forward to the semi-truck. That's the number one thing on his list. I keep talking about how important it is. He says the total cost of ownership will be so compelling, it will be a no-brainer for truck operators to buy it. They are wishing that he was asked about charging infrastructure since Phil Truby thinks that this will be the the gating factor for both depot and long haul. I don't think this is an issue at all because so many of these companies will buy their own. If they have a lot of trucks at one location, they'll buy their own. And a lot of times they'll also, if they have a regular route that they go, they'll put superchargers at the other end as well. And then Tesla has already said they're going to open up hundreds of these things and put some at some of the existing larger places. They have just built a revised semi prototype at the factory. They will have production versions in January of 2026. That's when we've been talking about. By the way, he says, I forgot to mention above that they did their first Cybercab crash test last week, and it passed with flying colors. And then Lars goes, of course it did. Elon spoke at the same meeting and was asked this: won't the switch to autonomous, here it comes, are you ready? Won't the switch to autonomous mean that there will be a need for fewer cars? Won't there be a need for fewer cars when we switch to all autonomous ride-hail cars? Elon said that his position, his responsibility as the CEO of a publicly traded company means he can't answer that question. He can't. And what does a no answer to that question mean? Because the answer normally would have been, if he thought he was going to be making 20 million cars by 2030, the answer to this question would have been, no, everything's normal. We're still expecting, to get to 5 million and then 7 million and then 10 and then 20. No, he can't answer that because the answer is yes, it's going to mean far fewer cars. My estimate right now is that one robotaxi or cybercab will replace that is in service, in full service, not in part service, but in full service as a robotaxi, as a ride-hail autonomous vehicle, will replace. Elon has always talked about 5. I think it could be as high as 7. So 5 to 7 vehicles will be replaced. So if Elon was planning to make 20 million vehicles, if you divide that by 5, that would be only a need for 4 million vehicles per year. If it's 7 vehicles, that would be 3 million vehicles per year. They already have that capability in the existing factories. So let's go back to Phil Truby. He responds to someone asking why Tesla won't just add a steering wheel and pedals to the Cybercab. He says Lars's answer to that was a very clear no. Tesla is training from being an EV. Tesla is training from being an EV car manufacturer to being an autonomous transport company. Tesla stopped building factories. This is, again, Truby talking. Tesla stopped building factories. They didn't bring out a full-sized SUV, which would be the next logical form factor, or any new model for that matter, except for a pair of purpose-built autonomous ride-hailing vehicles. Tesla will continue making vehicles, but they will all be autonomous. So we will now see a transition, and it may be fast, it may be slow. Some people, people that I respect and who think clearly, think that it could take 10 years. It could be 10 years from now that we would still be selling automobiles with steering wheels, still be selling cars with pedals, and or even if they take out the steering wheels and the pedals, that they will still be selling cars to folks, to just the regular people. You'll be able to buy one of these pedalless, steering wheel-less vehicles for your own use to just put around town. I don't think you'll be able to afford such a vehicle. Even if you wanted to buy it, you wouldn't be able to afford it. I think that's going to happen way faster than people think, maybe even within 3 years. That's been my statement all along. I can't tell you how long I've been saying that on this channel, but I certainly said it 3 months ago, 2 months ago, when I first made the realization of how fast this is going to happen. When I first made the realization that it replaces maybe 7 vehicles, it clicked one night, and I reported it here. I think that we're talking about 2028 is the end of any vehicles being sold by Tesla, maybe even 2027, but 2028, Tesla will definitely not be selling cars to private people for their own use. Now, other car companies still will, but I also said on that day that I think by 2028, no other car company will be able to. There just won't be a market in 2028, 2029 for people to buy vehicles for their own purposes, just to drive around and do whatever. There'll be plenty of used cars on the market for that, because the ride-hail business will be putting making a situation where people don't want their old car anymore. They're not using it at all. And they'll say, hey, I need to put this on the market and sell it. And so the price of used cars will drop dramatically. And what will happen is, if you still want a car for your own purposes, and the two obvious ones that always come to my mind are the person who uses their car all day long and they have stuff. They have stuff that they would need to go in and out of a cyber cab, and it would not be easy. It would not be convenient for them to do that. And then the other one people always talk about is a mom with at least a couple of 3 kids who has maybe a couple of baby seats and getting those in and out, plus groceries and whatever. So she wants to have some kind of a car to do those kinds of things. So those are the two. Now, I think used cars will make up. You won't want to buy a $35,000 new car or $45,000 new car, because there'll be plenty of really good used cars at very good prices. And actually, what will happen is the manufacturers will go from making 100,000, 150,000 of those vehicles per year to only having a demand for 25,000. They won't be able to make the cars. You can't make the cars with those kind of volumes. So I think that this transition will happen very, very rapidly. But it'll happen first with Tesla, because the cars will be autonomous and they will have huge value as autonomous vehicles in terms of their earning power. And so if you're not going to want to go pay $90,000 for a new Model Y just to put around. All right, Phil Tribby goes on. He says, Tesla is essentially starting over, albeit with a huge production capacity and engineering know-how and capabilities. Just as Netflix made the bet that streaming was going to replace DVDs, Tesla is making the bet that autonomous vehicles will replace human-driven vehicles. That's a good a good analysis, a good way to look at it. They're making the bet. Instead of doing the Sears thing and taking 30 years to sell your property out from under dying retail locations, they're making the bet that this transition is going to be like 3 years, and they're in the best position to make the transition. Elon has seen the future, and he sees the future, I think, very closely to how I just described it, and the way that I realized a few months ago that I'd been right all along, that this is where the future is going to be, but that it's going to happen in this time period now. Phil goes on to say, Elon isn't wrong. If we have autonomous vehicles, they will quickly replace everything else. They will be safer, and everyone will appreciate being given back their time, the most precious thing that you can possibly have. They will want their time back, and you'll be able to have the time back if you own the vehicle. There's no doubt about that. But the time back is going to be in so many different ways, as the young people are already finding out when they're using ride hail to take them everywhere, because they don't have to be bothered with washing a car, taking it in for repairs, taking it over to the stupid gas station and getting it filled up. You don't have to, find a parking place downtown and then, and then walk to your destination. You get dropped off right where you're going. Just so many cool things. So what will that transition look like, Phil says? Cybercab and RoboVan are the first purpose-built autonomous vehicles, but they won't be the last. People will buy them and the existing Tesla vehicle offerings, but Tesla will now have a new business model, ride sharing. Cybercabs will obliterate Uber and Lyft and Waymo too. How? He says, well, simply by undercutting their prices. Tesla aims to eventually be far less than 50% of Uber pricing, far less than current 50% of Uber pricing. So in other words, $1 a mile, which will completely destroy them. It won't happen overnight, since Tesla will have to build millions of vehicles. It'll take years, he thinks. I think maybe 2, maybe 3 before Uber would be completely out of business. And they might be out of business sooner than that, because they have the same problem with their total volume. You can't run that business. You can't run the overhead if you're back down to only having 500,000 cars again. and they'll just have to close up shop, and that's what's going to happen to Waymo. Waymo go, this just isn't worth it. It's part of Google. It has to really do numbers in order to be worth it. But Truby goes on to say, but that's fine. That'll take a few years because he says, I'll be comfortable. It will be a comfortable transition for the Tesla shareholders. He says, we have the first of what appears to be, oh no, I'm sorry. That is the end of that story. So I hope you understand. I mean, I think it's clear. All right. Tesla has enough capacity now to make somewhere between 3.5 and 5 million vehicles in the 4 factories that they have now. Might they add on to Shanghai? Sure. Plenty of room to add on to Berlin, no problem. Lots of room in Texas, no problem. So you have the 3 plus California. You have your 4 factories that will be able to make plenty of cars for this transition. It's over. That's all the factories. They're never going to open Mexico. Okay, it's just not going to. No, I'm not. Who knows? Maybe they'll have a reason to open Mexico for other purposes. But I'm saying maybe I think Brian White has mentioned several times that Mexico might be a place that they want to make them in order to take advantage of the fair trade or trade agreements with South America. Even for ride hailing, that might be important. I don't know, but I doubt it. I think it's going to be 4 factories and done. I think that's all we're going to see. And the total vehicle production is going to probably cap out at maybe tops 5 million. Then what about right now? What about I think the Model Q is the Model Q is a bone. It's a bone that's being thrown to the shareholders. That's what it is. It is, the shareholders have demanded it. It has been promised, and Elon decided to go ahead with it because it's not that hard to do, and that it will increase sales during this transition period. I think it's mostly a bone to the shareholders. And so there has been sightings. So here's story number 2. Actually, it's really story number 6, but there was like 5 stories up above if you were counting. So what are these? What's going to happen? There's been a couple of sightings. There's been sightings here in California, and there's been a sighting over in Berlin. And between these 2 sightings, this is what Grok says that we know, or apparently know, that this is a stripped down Model Y. It might have cosmetic differences in terms of the hood or the bumper. There will be cosmetic differences with regard to the lights and stuff. So this will be a different car. You'll be able to tell the difference. That's important to people that want to have their prestige version. They don't want to be seen as driving a $30,000 car, $35,000 car. They want to be seen as driving a $50,000 or $60,000 car. So that's important to folks. So there will be some cosmetic differences, but will it be like any changes in the hoods or the bumpers or the fenders? We don't know. The camouflage covers that up. What we do know are what we think we know based on these camouflage vehicles, where the individual who was doing the video was actually picking up the camouflage to a certain extent to see what was going on underneath. No continuous taillight bar across the rear. Instead, separate, simplified taillight units with a basic reflector strip. All right, so this will be a visible change that'll make it clear what it is, as well as it sounds like it's less expensive. No front light bar. The headlights are standalone and appear more basic without the integrated fog lights and advanced contours. So again, a slightly different look to the front end. And as we know, these are the taillights and the headlights are something people really, really notice in terms of identifying the product. And then it'll have a solid metal roof painted in the same color as the body color, lacking the panoramic glass roof found on higher trim Model Ys. This will be a very big difference in terms of the exterior look, as well as obviously when you're inside the car. But I have driven lots of cars in my life that didn't have a sunroof. It's okay. You can live. The rear bumper and trunk area show a flatter, less sculpted design, possibly to reduce manufacturing complexity, which again might also be true of the hood. There might be some differences in the look of the hood. They couldn't tell on this camouflage version. The wheels are 19-inch alloys fitted with Pirelli tires, maintaining a similar wheelbase to the standard Model Y. So no evidence right now of a difference in wheelbase or overall length of the vehicle. On the interior feature, the seats are upholstered in fabric, both front and rear, replacing the synthetic leather or premium materials. There's no visible perforations or vents, indicating there's not ventilated or heated seats. The center console appears basic with cup holders, but no apparent armrest storage compartment or premium finishes. And the standard Tesla steering wheel and central touchscreen are present, but the overall cabin looks decontented for cost savings. It's equipped apparently with hardware 4, I think that would be obvious, including the front-facing cameras in their usual positions, no removal noted. It's a rear-wheel drive apparently, or a single motor configuration. I think that would be obvious based on visible badging and lack of a dual motor indicator. And there's no visible changes to the charging port or side mirrors, which match the current Model Y. Not mentioned in this list, which I remember from seeing it, is that there is no screen in the rear of the car, no back seat screen. Remember, when you're in the car, especially, just because, I mean, those are, I like the little rear screen. I think it's really cool. I think it's a great feature. But in this day when everybody's carrying their phones and can watch video, can make changes to the functions of the car from their app, you don't really need those screens very much. So everything about this appears to be similar to the Model Y. So a stripped down version, but maybe with some cosmetic changes, but not a smaller, shorter hatchback or anything of that nature. And again, I've repeatedly said and argued with somebody online, I don't know, GB might be his initials, that it's not going to make any difference in the sales as long as it's a very, very good value and it fits into the price point that we're shooting for in terms of reaching this much larger TAM. It's going to sell very, very, very well. And it could substantially help, depending on how many they can punch out in December and January, it could help this transition period where the $7,500 option is going away in the United States, the $7,500 savings. Okay, that I think is everything I want to tell you about. Well, there's something else important I want to tell you is that there were 3 very, very good shows on yesterday. All day Saturday, very unique, very different shows that you probably should go back and take a look at. I'm going to put all 3 cards right up here. A show with Brian Wang in the morning, where he was talking about the directionality of the entire, cyber cab, everything about FSD, where we're going with it, what's happening. I mean, just an outstanding show. Highly recommend it. Even a more outstanding show was with Sir Basher, where he was talking about the future of AI and the future in particular of Bitcoin as it applies to AI, so with some comparisons to Tesla. And remember, this program now is going to be concentrating more and more and more on AI because that is the future. We'll be talking more about AI in general because that's what Tesla is. It's an AI company, and the AI thing is not going to stop with just 2 robots. There's going to be more robots. Count on it. And there's going to be more AI applications that may be in the digital space as opposed to just in the robotic space. I'm not as sure of that, but I'm pretty sure of that. All right. And it may even include the sale of Dojo chips, not just to, say, for instance, XAI, but they may be selling Dojo chips to other of people that would normally be buying NVIDIA chips. Brian Wang on this channel has said he believes that we will pass, that Tesla will be making more chips in 2029 than NVIDIA, that this would make Tesla, just the Dojo division, as valuable as NVIDIA by itself. Maybe. I mean, that's not necessarily true, but it might be. All right, that's all I've got for you right now. I hope that was enough. All 3 cards will be showing. Regular programming coming up yet later today. We will be doing the Monday morning show on Sunday night, where we'll tell you huge week coming up this week. Massive stuff, all kinds of earnings, all kinds of, you got the Fed report, you've got anyway, I'll be talking about all that and more tonight around 4:30, and then a regular, some kind of really, really cool program. I have no idea what it is yet, but it will be good at 7:45. All right, that's it for now. It's been great talking to you.